All right. Good day, everybody. My name's Ron Ray. If you don't know who I am, then I'm about to tell you. Glad everybody's here. We've still got quite a few people logging on, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Time is valuable. And if you're where I'm at in Texas, the central time zone, it's lunchtime. And I don't want to keep you away from business. I want to get you in here, get you learning, and then get you back out making money. So we're going to get started. A couple little quick items of housekeeping as we get started here. One is this is an educational webinar. Okay, so I'm going to give you a lot of general information, but I have agents from all over the country, so I want you to make sure that you do your own homework. Anything that I say here applies to what I do here in Texas. Okay, so we follow CMS guidelines, rules, and marketing regulations, but your state may have some different regulations that I don't know about. So as you're learning, take notes. If I say something that may not be allowed in your state based on your state rules, I understand that might happen. Please do your own homework and check on that yourself. If you're in Texas, then you're good to go. And then the other thing is we've got a lot of people in the room today, and I'm not going to be able to unmute everybody and just let everybody talk and ask questions, but I've got a short amount of time here. My software limits me to 2 hours, and we're already 9 minutes into that. So I've got a whole lot of information I'm going to get out to you. Take notes. Like I mentioned in the chat, this is being recorded, but it's not going to automatically be sent to everybody. Okay, I do that on purpose because people will sign up and then not show up thinking that they're going to get the recording, and then they get the recording and then they never watch it and no action ever gets taken. All right, so it's bad enough that it's free and people don't value free things as much. So the likelihood of you taking action on the information or paying attention to it because it's free already is reduced versus if you hadn't paid, $5,000 or $10,000 for it, which is probably what it's worth, based on, stories that I hear from other agents taking this class 2 years ago. So it's free. It is being recorded, but I'm not going to send it out. So pay attention, take notes. I'll ask and take notes and questions you want to ask me later. We've got a chat. If you've got questions, put them in the chat. I'm here. Also have with me a co-host today. His name's Josh Hatch. I think you saw his face pop up here, but he's in the room as well, co-hosting with me. He's going to try to get some of these questions answered in the chat, just so I don't get too distracted by doing that. I'm not a great multitasker. I can't talk and present and type at the same time. So he's going to help me with that. And then I've got a couple other agents that are going to pop in and just kind of give a little bit of their experience doing seminars in different areas of the country as we go along. So I think everybody's logged on that's going to get logged on in a timely fashion. I appreciate everybody being here. I really do. I like doing these things. I'm a public speaker. I do seminars, and I've been an adult educator for about 20 years and started out in law enforcement. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Insurance is my second career. I was a police officer before that. I've been a police officer for about 23 years. I finally retired from the reserves about 2 years ago and got out of that completely. And a few years before that, I decided I wanted to get married and start a family and not have to wear a bulletproof vest to work every day. So I got out of that as a full-time career and you kind of stumbled into insurance and Medicare supplements with a company that some people have heard of. Some of the people in this room have actually worked for in the past, called Bankers Life and Casualty, and discovered the world of Medicare and everything. And luckily, I was one of the lucky ones. I got the training and got out early. I didn't spend 10 or 20 years there and then have to try to get out. But some people do that, and Bankers Life is not a terrible company. They got some good training. You'll hear this if you ask the question. in the group, especially like the Medicare Monsters group, asked the question, what about Banker's Life? I think pretty common answer that you're going to get from everybody is this great training, not a lot of support, low pay. All right. So that was my experience. And I stayed there for about 6 months, luckily, and discovered the world of independent insurance. And that's where I've been ever since. So I've been in this business about 15 years now, almost 15 years. And I've just been in Medicare the whole time, and I'm a retirement planner. So we're a full service retirement planning firm, which means we take those 4 pillars of retirement and we integrate those into one master plan. So it starts out with health, which means for most people, Medicare, and then also life, long-term care, and retirement income planning, which really means annuities. And I have a Series 65 securities registration. So we do managed money for a fee as well. But it all hinges on Medicare. It all starts there. And I've written 3 annuities this week for a total of, I got to add them up. I can't even do the math there. $320,000, $444 last week. So it's been a pretty good 2 weeks for annuities. Folks, that all came out of Medicare. I don't do any paid annuity marketing at all. So all my annuity and assets under management, that all comes out of my Medicare business. And that's what we do. And that's what I teach agents to do. And that's what I'm here for. So that's me. Josh, are you still around? I don't see you anymore.
Yeah, I'm still here. My admin code put me in as you. So there's 2 of us in here.
Oh, yeah.
You and you.
I thought that was odd that you showed up with my name, but that's fine. Good to know. All right. So appreciate you being here. If you don't know Josh, he's an agent out in Las Vegas. We got to hang out with him and his family out there during Medicare Con, and he gets to live there every day. Wow, I don't know if that's good or bad, but he's doing a great business out there and has been working with me as a partner agency for about a year now, Josh.
Yeah, we're sitting right around a year. Went back to one of the seminar broadcasts that I watched you did a couple years ago. So
yeah, perfect.
Good information in this.
Yeah, good. So I'm going to have Josh come back in a little bit, and 1 or 2 other agents as time permits to kind of just tell you, what they're doing in different areas of the country, because what I do with seminars works well in most areas, and in some areas it works really well. And sometimes I'm kind of blown away by the numbers, but it's regional. So have some different tactics and kind of testimonials come through. All right. This is, again, I'm just kind of tooting my own horn here. Write articles for different news outlets on financial business and retirement, and speak at different conferences. And I'm going to get this out of the way so we can get down to the nuts and bolts, the content, the substance that you're here for. But I'm not doing this for free anymore. I did this seminar 2 years ago, taught a bunch of agents how to have huge success with Medicare seminars. And what I ended up doing was creating some competition for myself, which I don't mind. I'm glad people are successful, but it's kind of cut into my business a little bit, because the more competition you have, the less business you get, and the harder you have to work for it. So you're getting this information for free, but in exchange for that, I am going to give you a little pitch. And this is my offer for you today. I'm going to put the button up here. I am offering a mentorship program. I think that I've got the capacity, just personal capacity, time-wise, brain power-wise, to take on 8 to 10 new agencies in the next 12 months. And what does that offer consist of? Well, it's not just signing on as an agency partner where you move all your contracts and I do the same thing that everybody else does for you. That's not what this is about. This is an actual mentorship or apprenticeship program with my agency, Turning 65 Solutions, where we're gonna teach you handhold you, mentor you to do what we do. So if this is something that interests you, click on that offer link there and sign up. Now, don't do that right now. Just click on it. Get the window open so it doesn't go away. You don't lose it. And then at the end of the seminar, whenever you have time, but sometime in the next few hours, because that offer's not going to last long, fill out the application and then we'll be in touch. And part of this program is going to include weekly classes, weekly group classes that take you step by step to get your program up and running before annual enrollment. Because by the time October 1st gets here, folks, everybody's swamped. They're too busy. And if you miss the boat, you miss the boat until next year. So we're going to start the middle of July. Classes are starting middle of July, and the group classes are going to run through right to the start of annual enrollment, so that when you, by the time you finish the class, you finish the mentorship program, you will have a profitable seminar marketing program, as well as the other things that we do. So seminars is not just the only thing. I'll talk about why that is now, but that's the program. And then certain people that graduate from the program, part of it is me actually coming out to you, flying out to you on my dime and running your first seminars for you, first seminar. So, and doing that for you. And so you get to see me in action doing it for your clients. I'm going to come in, do your seminar. You take all that business, and then you're ready to go. You're on your own, not on your own because you've got my support, but you've got your program ready to go. So that's it. And yes, that was a recruiting speech. Recruiting is kind of a dirty word, but that's it. Yep, I'm using this for recruiting. I'm not charging you any money for it. The cost is you had to listen to me speak about the recruiting for about 4 minutes. All right, so that's enough of that. We're going to talk about Medicare educational seminars, okay? So the context of this webinar is Medicare educational seminars. Now, there's two types of Medicare seminars. There's educational events and there's sales events. I generally don't do sales events. That is, if you've been taking your AHIP, right? And you pay attention to AHIP, you know that there's two types of sales events. There's formal and there's informal. Informal is you're going to a health fair, you're setting up a table at the farmer's market, or you're meeting with somebody in their home. That's an informal sales event, right? And a formal sales event is where you're teaching a class, you're scheduling it, you're registering it with CMS, and you're showing up and you're teaching a class. But the difference between an educational and sales event is what? Anybody want to just tell me? Put that in the chat and see how many people know the answer to that. While I take a sip of my Jocko Go tea in my TCB mug. Not everybody at one time. Well, that's why you're here, to learn, right? Okay, good. So the difference between an educational event and a sales event, there we go. Thank you. Can't take enrollments. We get a couple of different answers: general versus actual, plan info equals sales event. Right. So at a sales event, you are talking about plan specifics. So say you're doing a sales event and you're gearing it towards Humana, and you're gonna talk about Humana. You're going to talk about Humana plans, and you're going to give plan specifics, which means you're going to talk about copays for that plan. You're going to talk about the different benefits, the dental plan, the OTC, the inpatient hospital copay, all of those plan specifics. That's what makes it a sales event, okay? A marketing event. Now, I'm going to stop you right there, because some of you are already thinking, well, the rules are changing, and they are a little bit, but not very much. I'm going to cover that at the end. So another good reason for you to stick around, because everything that I'm going to tell you until the end applies And then we're going to talk about the new CMS rules, because the CMS rules as it regards educational events are changing a little bit. Hang around for that. Okay. An educational event is general. There is no plan specifics. We're educating people on how Medicare works. Original Medicare, Medicare supplements, generally prescription drug plans, and generally Medicare Advantage plans. So we can talk about prescription drug plans and Medicare Advantage plans in terms of how do they work. They're private plans with companies that have a contract with Medicare to provide the services. They have to provide benefits that are at least as good as original Medicare, meaning they have to pay at least 20% of Part B services, right? They're going to have co-pays. They're going to have some of them deductibles. They're going to, which are capped with an out-of-pocket maximum. See, I'm not mentioning any numbers. I might give some examples of numbers and say, okay, for a family doctor office visit, some plans have a zero copay. Other plans might be $5 or $10 or $15. For specialists, you might have a $20 copay, just as an example. And then my slides have a big disclaimer that says, these details don't represent any one plan. It's just an example for educational purposes. Up until the new rules go into effect, that has been perfectly compliant. There's a little bit of a question whether that will remain compliant, because we're even staying, still very general, but we are talking about details. So the one thing that I do know that I'll tell you right now, and not wait till the end, is that you can submit that presentation, that script for approval, and then it'll be compliant. So we'll talk about that more, though. I don't want to stall. I've got a lot of information. So that's the difference. All right, sales event talks about specific plans and plan specifics. Educational events are general. And my big disclaimer in the first part of the presentation is, hey, folks, in a setting like this where I'm providing a meal, the law does not allow me to speak about specific insurance companies or plans or prices. So the only thing we're going to talk about today is just Medicare in general, what it does for you, what it doesn't do for you, and how you can kind of fill some of those gaps, which is the important part anyway, right? And everybody goes, oh, yeah, good. And they love that. They love the fact that I'm not pushing them towards any one company or plan. Now, sales events work. And you do those, you can do those during an enrollment period, right? During annual enrollment or open enrollment, or if you've got some niche market where you've got an enrollment period, then, or like retiring teachers or something like that, then do by all means, do a sales event. I don't like to do them because I feel like it pigeonholes me a little bit too much to one particular carrier or plan. I like to keep it general. I do everything. I'll tell you up front, I'm a big supplement guy. I've resisted Medicare Advantage for many years. We do a lot more of it now. We've done more Medicare Advantage this year than in my whole career combined, just because it's getting harder and harder to argue with people about it. And I don't like to argue with people. So I don't argue with them. If they want a Medicare Advantage plan and it's suitable, it fits, it does what they're going to do, hey, take a Medicare Advantage plan. And so I've had to adjust my presentation a little bit to not be so negative towards them, but give them a good, honest objection comparison of the two, original Medicare and Medicare Advantage. All right. So turning 65, that's generally when we're reaching out to people for educational events. And that's all year long, right? Now, during an enrollment period, like starting maybe September 1st, can you open that up to, say, people 64 and a half to 75, or whoever you want to hit? If you want to open it up 64 and a half, to death, then that's fine. You'll get more people in, and you can do it. I like turning 65. It's the name of my company. There's no underwriting for supplements, lots of different reasons. I went that way, but that's generally what we do, and more the context of what this presentation is about. Okay. All right. So how do we get started, right? We have to figure out first, we're going to do an educational event, right? So what does that open up? Number one is it opens us up to providing a meal, not just light snacks, right? Because we can do it. And there used to be, until a couple of years ago, well, there was some interpretations of the rules that said a meal falls under the category of a gift, and you have to keep the nominal cost of a gift under $15. And if you're talking about, or you're selling Medicare Advantage plans or prescription drug plans, well, you can't really provide a meal anyway, only light snacks. And the way we got around that is we're not selling Medicare's Advantage plans, right? We're selling Medicare supplements. We're educating people about Medicare Advantage. And if they want to do that, well, they can come into an appointment. We can educate them all about Medicare supplements. And if they decide they want to go with a Medicare Advantage plan, well, we can just get a new scope of appointment signed and change gears. And that was okay. Right now, it's a little bit different because about 2 years ago, I think, I could be wrong, don't quote me on it, but Medicare removed meal from the definition, or food from the definition of gift. And so we're not held to that $15 limit for meals anymore, which makes it better because who can buy a decent meal for $15? And it opens us up to be able to do other things, right? Now, so we're talking about a venue. That's really where this process starts. The process starts with a decision to do it. And I know I'm going fast, but I've got a lot of information and got about an hour and a half left to go. This is going to take the full 2 hours, by the way. Make a decision to do it. Then it really kind of hinges on a venue. You've got to find a place to go, a place that's going to hold enough people with a private enough space to where you can give a presentation without too many distractions. So we've got to find a restaurant. And I can tell you, you can do them at libraries, you can do them at civic centers, you can do them at senior centers, you can do them at hotels, you can do them at assisted living centers. You're not going to have as many people show up as if you provide them with a meal. And I just promise you that will always be the case. And you can do them in a library. The library will help you advertise them. You'll have people show up, but it's not going to be enough. Right? And if you don't advertise, you don't spend the money to advertise a non-food event, you're going to get 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 people show up, maybe more. But if you do the same event at a restaurant, you're going to get way more people. And people will always say, well, they're just coming. Some people just come for the food and they have no intention of ever doing business with you. That's true. That's so true that we have a term for it. They're called plate lickers, and they'll come over and over again. You know, when I do annuity seminars, if I'm doing a series over a period of time, say 6 weeks or several months, you'll feed the same people over and over again, and they don't have any money and they have no intentions of ever doing business with you. They're just coming for the steak. That's reduced with Medicare for a couple of reasons. One is it's very specific. We're only advertising to people who are turning 65 in the next, 8 to 10, 12 months. So they've got this one thing on their mind. It's not a very general advertisement for, Social Security education or, whatever the topic is that gets people into annuity seminars. And it's not a $90 steak dinner. It's a $15 Golden Corral buffet. It's not good food, folks. Most people are not coming to your Medicare seminars for the food. They're coming for the information. Now, can you have somebody show up for the meal without any intention of ever working with you? Definitely. But you know what? It's just a cost of doing business. You can't get mad at them. You're just going to focus on the ones that are there to listen to you and do what you need. All right, I'm just kind of looking through. Folks, just so you know, we can't see the chat and the Q&A only area all at the same time. So just go ahead and put your questions in the chat, not the Q&A only, and then we'll try to get to them. But I'll save that. If we have time, yeah, so I'm going to kind of answer some of those questions as we go along. So Brent, to answer your question, you have to disclose the different carriers. Also, please don't send private messages unless if it's a question. Send it in public so that we can everybody can see it, because lots of people have the same question. So, do you have to disclose to the different carriers that you're doing a sales event with multiple carriers? You know, I don't really do sales events anyway, but I think that I am definitely not registering a sales event with every carrier that I work with. I'm going to register it with one to be legal. And then if a person from that seminar or that event ends up, you know, not being suitable for that carrier that I registered with, but it's going to be suitable for the other one, I think that's fine. I don't think anybody's ever going to bother you about that. The carriers are not going to turn down that business. You're just doing a good job at suitability, right? If that carrier's plan was not suitable, but this other one was, you can't say, no, I didn't register my event with that carrier, so I can't sell you that. Sorry. Right? That's not really suitable either, is it? And can you refer them to somebody down the street? Yeah, but that's not reasonable. So Phil, to answer your question, yeah, there's no maximum amount for food, because food is no longer included in the definition of gifts. That $15 maximum, that applies to gifts. So if you want to do door prizes or give everybody something at your seminar, that's what that applies to. It doesn't apply to the price of the meal, right? And it just makes sense, because that $15 limit's been in place since I've been doing this, for 15 years. And let's face it, inflation. I mean, I could get a Golden Corral buffet for $10, 6-8 years ago. You can't do that now, right? Okay. Especially include a drink and gratuity and everything that it costs. So that's it. We need a restaurant. We need a restaurant with a private room. You're not going to do this in the main dining room with all the rest of the paying customers there. It's going to annoy the paying customers, and it's going to cause distractions for you, right? So you need a private room that's as private as it can get. I mean, if they really preferably have got closed doors, it's not open at all. It's not a section of the dining room. Now, I do have agents that will get a restaurant and just rent out the whole thing. I would do them some pizza places or some smaller kind of mom and pop restaurants, and they'll just close the whole thing down, during their slow time, like from 2 to 4. Nobody's really in a restaurant anyway during those hours. So they're happy to close the whole thing down and just have an event for you. But for the most part, we're finding a restaurant that has a good private room, and we'll work with you on that. Okay. And on that, you want to watch out for restaurants that we don't want to pay a fee for a room, and we really want to avoid a deposit. Unless that deposit, or sometimes they'll call a deposit, would be like a minimum. Like they want a minimum of 25 people, or they want a minimum of $1,000. One, we don't want to pay a fee, because I'm bringing you 30 people for lunch today that would not otherwise be in your restaurant, right? And I'm not getting a discount. I'm paying your menu price. Or I'm not asking you for a discount, but I'm not going to pay your fee. Minimums and deposits I can be okay with, as long as something happens, a thunderstorm pops up, or a train derailment, some problem happens, and I don't make my minimum. Can I carry that over to the next event? Can you give it to me on a gift card, or can you forgive it? If something outside of my control happens. Now, if I didn't do a good job of marketing and I didn't fill the room to meet the minimum, well, that's on me, and I need to pay it. And I'm just taking to-go food with me. I'm gonna take it to the food bank, or I'm gonna take it home and feed my kids for a week. Golden Corral. But if something outside of my control, can we carry that balance of that minimum? Can you either give it to me on a gift card, where it's coming back to you anyway, or carry it forward to the next event? If the answer's to that question is yes, then I'm okay with a minimum. Otherwise, I don't want to pay a minimum either, because remember, under normal circumstances, if I'm doing a good job and things outside of my control don't happen, I'm bringing them 30 folks that would not have otherwise been there. And most of them have probably never been there before. So I'm introducing all these new people to your restaurant. And unless they prohibit it, which most restaurants don't, your brand is going out on my mail that I'm paying for, right? So we put the brand of the restaurant on the mail so that they can see it. Oh yeah, oh, I know that place. I keep saying Golden Corral, though I don't actually use Golden Corral anymore. Our local one just kind of got hard to work with here, but they work fine. Seniors love it. And they usually almost always have a private room, and it's easy. You don't have to have a menu. You just pay a flat fee and they go and get their buffet, and it's good. All right. Versus non-food, we already talked about that. If you can hold it at a library and not have to buy food or get it catered, that's great. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. I'm just saying you'll get more people with food, right? You attract more bees with honey than with vinegar or with nothing, right? Let's see, somebody else ask a question about a hotel with catering. That's just usually too expensive. For Medicare, remember, what's our average commission on Medicare? We're turning 65, right? A true up is going to be $600 on a Medicare supplement. It's going to be $300, depending on what we're doing and how we're packaging and bundling things. So, and they tend to draw less. They don't draw as well doing them at a hotel. That's just proven. Talk to any of the mail houses that do seminars. They'll tell you, don't do it at a hotel. The food costs too much and they don't draw as well. So do it at a restaurant. That's just going to work out better. Marketing. How do we market for this? You've got to pay for it. If you want to put people in the seats, right? If you want 40, 60, 80 people in the seats over 2 days, you've got to pay for it, right? You cannot grassroots this thing if you want those kind of numbers, right? You've got to do direct mail, or if you're in an area where digital marketing works for this, you've got to pay for digital marketing, right? Which means Facebook ads, right? And my preference by far, for a couple of reasons that I'm going to tell you, is direct mail, right? And the reason for that is direct mail is much more highly pinpoint, laser targeted to the people you're trying to reach. So if we're doing Turning 65 seminars, I want to mail to people, write this down, I want to mail to people who are turning 65. If we're doing a seminar in June, we are not going to mail to people who are turning 65 in June. I'm writing this down so I can get it straight. We're not going to mail to people who are turning 65 in July, and we're not mailing to people who turn 65 in August. All right, so those are out. We're mailing to people who turn 65 in September, October, November, December, January, maybe February if we need to get the numbers, right? And why not those June, July, and August? The reason is those are lower percentage plays for you. Is it possible that they haven't made a decision or they've made a bad decision and you can still do business with them? It's possible. It's not as probable. We want to get to those people who are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months out, because then we can start developing a relationship with them over time and not have to catch up. And most of them have already made a decision anyway, right? So that's on those early ones, June, the month of, the month after that, and the month after that. The percentage of those people who are already done something is very high. And so it's a very low percentage shot for you. So we're reaching out 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months out. Now that sounds like a long time. That kind of depends on your area. If you've got the population to support it, meaning you can send out a mailer within a 20-mile radius or less of your restaurant and get 30 people in your room, and you only have to go out to December, well, that's great. Then only go out to December. It costs you less. But if you're in a more sparsely populated area where you don't have that many people turning 65 out to December to fill your room, then you have to add January. You have to add February. Why don't we just increase the radius? We may increase the radius, but there's a breaking point to that. I'm holding my arms out, but you can't see in this little window. There's a breaking point to that where people just won't drive to go eat free Golden Corral. Okay. And it's a little bit smaller radius in urban areas, maybe up to 8 to 10 miles, depending on the difference where I'm at here in New Braunfels, Texas. In San Antonio, people will drive 10 miles to go to a seminar. In Austin, they won't drive 4 miles because the traffic's so terrible, right? So it's very, very localized, and we're going to have to figure out kind of what's going to work best for you. In the rural areas, people are already used to driving 30 minutes to go eat dinner. So we can go out 20 miles, but there's like a rule, like 19 miles is okay. 20 miles is pushing it. They won't drive 21 miles. We're going to have to figure it out. Now, the good news is you're not on your own. You've got people like me. You've got a lot of the vendors, the mail houses that specialize in seminars. They already know. They've got somebody that is doing some type of seminar in your area or in a similar area, or they've got somebody that tried it, didn't stick to it, and they still got that data, and they can tell you, okay, well, this one we did 19 miles and it was full. This one we went out 21 and it wasn't very good. So, or it wasn't any better. What software am I using to pull the T65 data? I don't. I pay people to do that. So I hire mail houses to do this. And Leading Response is one of my best ones. They definitely, their specialty, the only thing they do is seminars. And, you can talk to Jennifer at Leading Response or Scott Brewer. Either one of those two salespeople at Leading Response will definitely steer you in the right direction. And they do a lot of Medicare, thanks to, everything we've been telling people about them. They were a sponsor at Medicare Con a couple of months ago. And they've got some minimums that might be too much for you. I think they've got a 3,000 piece minimum. And so, if you're not there, you don't have the population, you don't have the budget for that. There's some other mail houses. Another one that I really like that I've been using lately for some smaller, more niche mailers or rural mailers is a company called the Lead Store. And they don't specialize in seminars. That's not the only thing they do. However, working with me, we can work with them to get you set up and get you everything that you need. But they'll do smaller mailers, right? So if you've only got 800 people in your radius, well, we can mail to 800 people with a company like the Lead Store. So we've got you covered there. But that was a long way to answer your question. I don't do it. They do it. I'm not an expert in pulling T65 data out of a software. And what I would have access to is far inferior to what they have access to. They pull data that's big, expensive data they pull it directly from Axiom or Equifax or, outlets that you've probably didn't even realize sold Turn 65 lists. And so we can pinpoint target who we're looking for. If we want to add income filters or homeowners versus apartments and no PO boxes, lots of stuff like that you're not going to get out of a vendor that just kind of does, your typical business reply mail, final expense lead type stuff. Not that they can't do it, but these folks specialize in seminars. Versus digital, got a lot of information. I don't know if I'm going to make it. Versus digital, especially with Facebook, it's much more imperfect. Okay. So I can target somebody on Facebook with a birthday in a certain range, right? It's very hard now after Facebook got in trouble with the whole Cambridge Analytica thing they don't really let you target financials. There's ways to work around it with zip codes and you target more fluid areas. There's different ways to do that. But it's just really just the ages. It's imperfect. And so you target somebody that's 64. And by the way, their targeting goes from 60, from 18, 19, 20, all the way up. And then it hits 64 plus. there's no more individual age years beyond 64, right? 64 plus, 65 plus, 65 plus. But within the 64 range, now we can target birth months within that. We can't really target zip codes. We can target a radius, though, so a radius around your restaurant. But the problem is there's a virality to Facebook ads, and one person likes it. Well, their friends see that they liked it, and your 62-year-old friend clicks on it, registers for your seminar, and they show up, and that's fine. I mean, you've got a 62-year-old that's in your pipeline now that might be ready in a couple of years, but they also send it to their 78-year-old friend sees it that's, got diabetes and congestive heart failure, and they've got a plan F from 12 years ago, and you can't do anything with them. So it's very imperfect. And there are companies out there that do a better job than others, but for what we do, I really don't, especially for turning 65, I do not recommend digital marketing. Now, if you're going to open it up and do more general, especially like during the annual enrollment period, general Medicare seminar that's not so much focused on turning 65, but just focused on Medicare in general for all different ages, and still keep it educational, then digital's okay, because the targeting is not as important. But for turning 65 seminars, the targeting is very important because it costs money to get those people in that room, and you want the right people in the room. Okay. Let's see here. All right. So marketing, RSVPs. How do you get people? How do you know who's coming? Right. You can take it over the phone. You can put your phone number on the mail piece. You can put a QR code that goes to a sign up. We're doing that now with some of the tools that we have. The better vendors like Leading Response that specialize in seminars, they set all that up for you. They have a call center, in-house call center that takes the phone call RSVPs. They set you up a new landing page for each specific event so people can register online. And more people are doing that, registering online versus phone. It's almost 50-50 now. It didn't used to be that way even like a year ago. It was, maybe less than 25% registered online versus call into the call center. But anyway, they do that all for you. It's included in the price. It doesn't really cost you anymore. You can drop the phone and save a tiny bit of money, but it's really insignificant, and it's worth it, right? So let them do that. Unless you're new, you don't have anything else going on. Hey, put your phone number on, and you take RSVPs all day long. I don't want to do that. I don't have time to. I also don't want to answer questions, right? I want them to get into the seminar, answer questions there. Really, I don't want to answer questions there either. I want to get them in my office. I want to get them on the phone for an appointment, answer their questions there, right? Automations. We get questions about automations. This wasn't a deal a couple of years ago, right? So now we actually have automations built that handle RSVPs. They handle confirmation calls, not calls, but confirmations prior to the event. And so we've taken a lot of that off of our actual physical plate to get people into the seminar. So they're going to get the mail piece in their hand. They're going to see it. Oh, I want to go to that. I'm turning 65. I need all this information. They call up the number, they RSVP, and that's about 2 weeks before, right? So they do that is the first day that the mail piece hits their mailbox. They call up and they register 2 weeks before. Well, 2 weeks go by, they're going to forget it. It's like calling a final expense lead. I didn't sign any card. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, it's true. They forgot about it. So a couple of days before, preferably the day before, we're going to call them and confirm their attendance. Hey, calling from the Medicare seminar you signed up tomorrow at Golden Corral. Just wanted to confirm that you're still going to be there. And then give them some instructions. Hey, here's the directions, the address. We ask that you get there about 15 minutes early so that we can get you seated and get your meal order placed, and so that we can start on time. And the room gets kind of chilly, so ladies might want to bring a sweater with them. Just give them those kind of little details. A lot of that now, we're actually automating. So we're sending them a text message and an email the day before We're still making phone calls just because I have the resources here to do it, and it's better, right? The more we can remind them, the better. If we can't get them on the phone, though, they've got the text, they've got the email, and a lot of that is automated. Now that's the confirmations. On the RSVP side, we can automate that too with a registration forms through a couple of the different automation platforms that we have. All right, so that's RSVPs. And that's what about the automations on that end. There's more automations we can talk about later, but right now I've got to move on. Now, so we've got our marketing done. We've got our venue picked. We've got our marketing done. We've got people registered for the event, right? Now what do we have to do? Holy crap. It's like last night, I realized I had 250 people registered for this webinar today, and I hadn't completed my PowerPoint. And by the way, if you see any typos or anything in here, you don't like the design of it, well, that's because I procrastinated and didn't get it done until this morning, and I didn't have my PowerPoint wizard, who is my wife, proofread it or fix the design and make it prettier. So, but I think it turned out pretty good. So what do we need? We need some sort of visual, right? You're either going to have a PowerPoint, and in order to have a PowerPoint, you have to have something to put that PowerPoint up on, a screen with a projector or some sort of television monitor, right? A lot of restaurants that have a private room, they're going to do some sort of events, whether it's, I don't know, Rotary Club meetings or they probably do Medicare seminars. There's other agents. We're not the only ones that do it. And so they've got a monitor, or if they're older, they've got a projector and a screen, right? If they don't have that, you need to get one. Listen, don't go out and spend a lot of money on a projector. Get one that's, good enough to project on a screen, like a standard size projector screen. I've got the old fashioned one. It's on a tripod and it pulls up, and it's, like a window blind. And we haul that stuff to the restaurants that don't have TV monitors. If they have a monitor, you just have to make sure that you're able to connect your computer, your laptop, to that monitor. So you need to make sure you have your own cable, the interfaces. If you have an Apple, a MacBook like me, that means you have to have an adapter, for the adapter. But if you've got a PC, you usually have an HDMI, and you just have your own stuff. Take it with you. You need a slide advancer, right? So you don't have to go back to your computer every time you want to change slides and press the button. Have a slide advancer. You should hold it in your hand. They're not expensive. $15 if you get, if you forget one, like I do sometimes, you have to drive over to Best Buy real quick and cost you $40. Have a slide advancer, a clicker. Extension cords, you work it in the morning, you go, you get it all set up, and you go, oh my goodness, my battery's not going to last. My laptop battery's not going to last. Take your charger, take an extension cord. Right? That's it as far as equipment, what you need to set up, right? Now, with that, we've got technology, we've got electronic equipment that can fail, right? You can forget your adapter. Your battery can die because you forgot your charger, or you forgot to save your PowerPoint before you left, and you can't access it on your laptop. Something weird can happen, right? You need to have a backup plan. And for me, that backup plan is just having my slides printed out on a piece of paper, and most of them are in the handout. So my people all get a handout that has that's their guide for the presentation. And most of the pages of that handout are just the PowerPoint slides. I don't just simply print off the PowerPoint slides and staple them together and hand them out. It's a little bit more highly produced than that. And there's some extra things that are not in the slideshow, but that they need, that are in that book. And it's happened where, for whatever reason, the projector at the restaurant didn't work. I didn't take my own because they had one. It was the first time at a new restaurant. Something's always going to go wrong, right? It's usually the manager forgot to write you down in the calendar, and they've got you double booked, or they're not ready for you. That's usually what happens. Sometimes you didn't go and try out the equipment, and you get there and you find out, oh, the manager's looking, I don't know where the remote is for the projector, and it's 9 feet up in the ceiling. We can't reach it to turn it on. Stuff like that happens. So you got to have a backup plan. That backup plan is just having a handout, having a copy for yourself, and just going over it with the handout. You can't go, oh my gosh, my PowerPoint's not working. Now what do I do? Right? Sorry, folks. I guess we have to reschedule. You're not going to get them back. You're going to get less than half of those people to come back because you had some sort of failure. Another good backup plan, although I don't do this anymore, but this is how I used to do it for a long time, even though I've been using PowerPoint and projectors and stuff for a long time, and both my careers, is foam craft board posters, 2 foot by 3 foot posters on an easel. And that was my presentation. And that never fails unless you forget to take them with you, right? I stopped using those. I would be using those today and not using a PowerPoint projector, except for the fact that those got really kind of expensive to replace. And if you're doing everything right, Medicare prices change every year. You've got to update those, and they got pretty expensive, more than what a projector would cost. So I just switched over to a projector and PowerPoint. But those are a good backup. If you have them, they're easier to carry. I know agents that carry a 50-inch television screen into a restaurant, take their own TV with them. That's too much. Don't do that. But have some slides, easel, handouts, and your presentation. Make sure your presentation is saved in a place where you can get it without internet. You might not. We've got one restaurant we go to. It is incredibly hard to connect to their Wi-Fi network and get anything. So you got to try to tether off your phone, and it's in a bad spot for cell reception. So save it on your hard drive on your computer where you can access it without internet access, right? If you do everything in the cloud, that's great. I do too. There's some things I store on my computer, and that PowerPoint presentation is one of them. All right, so you got that all set up. We're putting the book, a business card, a pen, and a note paper on each place in the restaurant, and having them set up when they get there. And when they get there, now it's showtime, right? So showtime goes like this. Folks come in, you check them off your roster, you know who's registered. You don't really have to get contact information because you've already got it when they registered, right? So you've already got it. But what we want to do, we want to have a clipboard, have somebody standing, even if that's you, standing at the door as they come in. Hey folks, hi, you here for the seminar? Great. Hey, can I get your name? We just want to check you off the list. Now, what if they're not on the list? Some people get the mail, don't register, and then show up. Are we turning them away? Heck no. We're going, oh, you know what? Let me just write your name down here. All right, you get them in there. They invite a guest that didn't register. But we're just making it a little bit more formal than just sitting there. Hey, folks, come on in, have a seat anywhere. I don't know. I'm going to go mess around until it's time to start. No, make it a formal thing where people feel like you're a professional. You're checking them off the list. You're aware that they're coming. Their name's on the list. Their guest is on the list, right? Feels much better if you walk up to a place and you're standing in line, behind the velvet rope, and you go, hey, yeah, I'm on the list, right? The bouncer checks you off the list and lets you in. Kind of that same feeling, right? So you get them in, you get them seated. Depending on the type of place, you're going to get their meal order taken, get their drinks. If you're at a buffet, you don't have to worry about that because they're just going to go get their meal afterwards. So they're eating after the presentation. You're going to do your talking first, and then they're going to eat. But get their meal order placed, get that turned into the restaurant so they can have the food ready to go when you're done talking. And they don't have to wait another 20 minutes after they've already sat there listening to you for an hour. All right. Get the permission to contact first, right? So after everybody comes in, they're seated. You got the meal orders placed. You got their drinks. You're ready to start. They've all got a sheet in front of them. Gosh, I didn't bring my stuff with me, but everybody's got a sheet in front of them that says the next step. What I'd like to do is ask you to take that sheet out and fill it out. Just put your name, address, and phone number on it. Once you do that, you will then become what I like to call a tax deduction. You see the IRS will no longer accept just a receipt from the restaurant. They want to see something where an individual is actually here and ate the food that I'm paying for today. And if you do that, I'd appreciate it. That, folks, that's your contact information for the people. Now, what I'm saying is true about the IRS. If you're audited, you can't just present a receipt from the restaurant. You've got to show them some roster, some individual that goes with that receipt. This is not meals and entertainment for anybody that does taxes. This is advertising expense, okay? And then at the end of the presentations, we're going to get this, right? And we're going to get their email address too. By the way, all this information comes out of this book right here called Choosing a Medigap Plan or Medicare and You. Now, the insurance companies used to send this to me, but they don't do that anymore. So the way I get it to you is I just email it to you. So if you'd like that, write your email address down here. Put off a little note off to the side that says, please send me the Medigap book. I'll email that to you tomorrow morning. That little trick right there gets me everybody's email, even if they don't want to give it to me. They want that book. So say those words. Make a little note off to the side that says, please send me the Medigap book, and I'll email it to you tomorrow morning. All right? Everybody will give you their email address. They will not argue. There we go. Okay. I'm just looking through the questions. Josh is doing a good job of answering those. All right. Get the permission to contact up front. Then at the end, you're going to get them to tell you that, yes, they want you to contact them. Okay. We'll talk about that in a minute. Well, now you're going to give your presentation. And I've got a presentation. If you try not very hard, you can probably Google and find my Medicare seminar on the internet somewhere. You definitely can. So we're not going to go into like how that's done here, right? Because that's a whole nother hour, right? But you give your Medicare educational seminar, right? You're telling them about original Medicare, A and B. How does it work? When do you sign up? Do you need to sign up? Right? What if you're on Social Security? Then you're going into the out-of-pocket costs associated with original Medicare, right? The Part A deductible, the Part A hospital copay, the Part B deductible, the Part B coinsurance, right? You're going into all that stuff, creating this need for these other products that you sell, right? So can we agree that with original Medicare and nothing else, you have a significant out-of-pocket risk? Can everybody agree on that? You get everybody's head going up and down like that. And once you see everybody's head going, yes, we have a significant out-of-pocket risk, then you say, what do we do to protect ourselves from that risk? That's right. You get yourself a Medicare supplement. You go into the Medicare supplement explanation. Once you're done with that, by the way, none of that covers prescription drugs. That's all covered under a separate program called Medicare Part D. Folks, it's real easy to remember Medicare Part D, D for drugs. That's right. I don't think the Congress intended it that way, but it worked out. You tell them all about Part D, right? Now you go into Part C, Medicare Advantage. Now remember, from now on, starting really next month in July, we're gonna have to be careful. And there's still some interpretations that are going to have to be made by the lawyers and the insurance companies about what we can say and not say in an educational event about plan benefits. I'm of the opinion and interpretation that as long as we're keeping it just as an example with an HMO, most HMOs are probably going to have a zero copay for a family doctor visit. Some PPOs might have a small copay for a family doctor visit. As well as you're keeping it very general and as an example, this is how they work. I think we're going to be fine. Okay. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't think all the interpretations have not come out yet. We'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. All right. Give your presentation. Talk about Part C. You wrap it up. You say, okay, you're turning 65. You've got a choice to make. You can either go this way with original Medicare and a supplement and a Part D plan, or you can go this way with Medicare Part C, where you combine these two and get all your care from the Medicare Advantage plan. You get all these extras, right? These are the pros over here. These are the cons. These are the pros and cons over here. You've got to make these decisions And I'm the one that's going to guide you to those decisions, right? I work for you. I'm just going to get to know you, and I'm going to point you in the right direction, right? I don't care. I don't care which one you take, because I don't work for the insurance companies. I work for you, right? And especially on this side, they all pay the same. The commissions are regulated by the government. Everybody makes the same. Everybody pays the same. Doesn't matter. I don't care what plan you pick, as long as it's right for you, right? Because I get paid the same. By the way, you don't pay me. The insurance company that you pick pays me, and they all pay about the same. On the Medicare supplement side, they're very competitive. There's really not that much difference from one company to the next. Not enough for me to steer you in the wrong direction. Make sense? Okay. At the end of the presentation, you're going to pull out the next step form and say, folks, if you'd like to meet with me, you already filled out this form. Just go ahead and check the date and time when you'd like to meet with me. Now, starting the new rules, you're no longer going to be allowed to actually schedule appointments. So we'll probably have to change that part of the form and the wording up. But for most people, what I say is, look, if your birthday's not until January and you don't want to think about this for a while, just check the box that says, please call me 3 months before my birthday, or 2 months before my birthday. And that's when we're going to call you. If your birthday's next month and you're in a hurry, hey, let us know and give us a call tomorrow morning, and we'll schedule an appointment right away to do that. Okay. Under the new rules, you're not going to be able to schedule appointments at the events, but until July the 10th, you can still do that. So if you've got an event coming up this month, please schedule those appointments right there at the event. Okay. So you get the permission to contact. You cannot schedule an appointment. These are the new rules, or collect the scope of appointment, right? Or hold, might as well go ahead and get this out of the way since we're talking about it, kind of makes sense. Or hold a sales event immediately following an educational event. There has to be a 12-hour period, waiting period in between an educational event and a sales event at the same location. Now, can you have listen, we're getting nitpicky here, okay? But imagine you got a Golden Corral, you do your educational event here, you go a block down the street to the library. I'm going to be down there. I want to be meeting with people. If you want to talk about your specific case and look at specific plans and see what might be right for you, I'm going to be down there in about an hour. I'll be there the rest of the afternoon. Come on down and see me. I think you could probably get away with that. What the rule says is that you can't hold a sales event in the same location within 12 hours of an educational event. You can't collect the scope of appointment. Now, I'll save this for later. The new scope of appointment rules, which is not really a new rule, it's just an old rule they brought back and are going to enforce this, the 48-hour rule. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, food hour, set appointments now until July the 10th. You can't set appointments anymore. Okay. I may even be wrong about that date. I think that July 10th date applies to the marketing language rules. Not the event rules. That may be a September 30th thing. In fact, it is. So September 30th. Double check that. Again, do your own homework. I'll double check that and email everybody or put it in the Medicare Monsters group, whether I'm right or wrong about the July 10th. I think everything that I just mentioned actually is not July the 10th. It's September the 30th, which means for January 1st effective dates. All right. A lot of information. Even I can't keep it all straight sometimes, especially when it's changing. All right. Now the after party, right? We just brought 35 people into a room. We held them captive for an hour and a half while we taught them about Medicare, right? And then we fed them. We sent them on their way. Now what? Now we've got to monetize. We've got to get our money back. We've got to make a living. We've got to put food on the table. We've got to pay the light bill. Right? We've got to build this stream of renewable income that everybody talks about in Medicare. So listen, folks, you've got to work afterwards, right? You've got to follow up. The fortune's in the follow-up. You've got to call them 3 months before their birthday, if that's what they checked off, right? You've got to call them the next day and say, hey, wanted to thank you for coming to the seminar. Was the food okay? How was the service? Hope you enjoyed yourself. By the way, do you have any questions, specific questions to your case that I can answer? You talk to them. Now, just like any phone conversation prior to making a sale, you don't want to answer too many questions on the phone without setting an appointment, because then, they have no need to set an appointment. But I'll let you figure that out. Everybody's got their own style on how to do that. Now, we're automating a lot more of that follow-up than we ever have before. It used to be really literally just calling everybody, right? Then we added drip email just to stay in front of them, just to keep top of mind, because remember, we're reaching out 8-9 months before their birthday. They literally can't do anything right now. 6 months before they can. We could write them heads up 6 months before their birthday, right? But we've got to stay in front of them, right? Because more and more competition, more and more telemarketers, Joe Namath's running rampant on the industry. Somebody's going to get in front of them before they get back to you, right? So we've got to make sure that we're in front of them. So we've got to add more automations, because we just don't have time. If you're doing a seminar or 2 or 3 seminars a month, your time is filled with seminars and sales, and less time for that actual follow-up. And what you find is that leads start slipping through the cracks, right? You're not calling people that ask you to call them. So that's a problem. That's what led me to hire my first assistant. Was I could no longer handle all the follow-up calls myself to schedule appointments. And people were calling me the month before their birthday going, "Hey, you never called me. Can I come in and sign up?" Or I'd call them and they say, "Oh man, you never called me. I already signed up with somebody else." If you can't afford an assistant or don't want to hire an assistant, we can do a lot of this with the automations that we're building out in some of our platforms. We're always going to give them a call or something the next day, even if it's an automated text message that said, "Thanks for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions," right? We send them postcards, and that also it's not fully automated, but we're definitely not sitting down and handwriting postcards anymore. Right? And then manual follow-up. Eventually, you're going to have to pick up the phone and call these people, the ones that haven't already come in through the automations. And then what do? You sit back and you collect the paycheck. The money is coming in, and it's coming in reliably, consistently, and bigger and bigger and bigger, because you get better at what you do. You get better at presenting. You get better at follow-up. Your presentation itself gets better. You do it once, and something you say or a joke you tell flops. And so the next time you go, "Oh, okay, that didn't work as well," or that example or that analogy or that story didn't work. It didn't seem like people were going like this. They were just kind of sitting there going, "I don't know what you're talking about." Well, don't do that next time. Do something different, right? So you get better every time you do it, right? You get more confident, and confident, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for confidence. You know what you're talking about. They're there because they want an expert to help them. And you've got to do it. You got to do it more. Okay. That's it, folks. That's how you run a seminar. That's how you plan it. You get ready for it. You run it, and you follow up. Now, what are we doing differently? What we're doing differently is we're automating a lot of this process. This is just kind of 5 of the basic seminar follow-up and registration and confirmation automations that we have. I'm not going to give away all my secrets here and show you, the copy and how these work, but you can see there's a pre-seminar follow-up. That's really like an RSVP. It says, "Hey, thanks for registering. Here's the date, the location, the address, the times, everything you need to know," right? And then the day before or 2 days before, sometimes it depends on how your people are. Remember, some of this varies by location. We're going to send them a confirmation. So it's going to be, "Hey, wanted to remind you, your seminar's tomorrow. Don't forget, I sent you an email with all the details. Give us a call if you need anything," right? And then after the seminar, they're going to get another set of texts and then drip emails that last several weeks, right? Until they're really to that point, right? And if they didn't attend, they're going to get another set of automations that says, "Hey, sorry you couldn't make it. Let's get you registered for the next one." And by the way, they're also going to start getting the drip emails, right? Because even if something came up, they don't want to, we're going to start dripping on them and educating them and getting them to know you in preparation for either the next seminar that they're going to go to, or the time comes when it's time to enroll. So I got a couple of questions. Josh is kind of answering them, but I want to touch on based on a couple of things. What days of the week? Let me go back down here. One person said, I thought we weren't allowed to get their info at an educational meeting. That was in the proposed rules, but then when they entered the final rule, they took that part out so that you can get their information. You can't get what they're referring to as a business reply card, which is really what we call permission to contact. You cannot set an appointment or collect a scope of appointment or hold a sales event immediately after. Again, that's the new rules. And right now you can get it all. You can get it. You can set an appointment. You can have a sales event, sales meeting immediately after. You can schedule an appointment. You can get you can do anything you want to, right? As long as it's not a sales event where you're talking about plan specifics. What times of the day of the week seem to be better? So definitely, just statistically, if we look at seminars in general, Tuesdays and Thursdays are the best. Mondays, everybody hates a Monday. Nobody wants to get up and go do anything on a Monday. Tuesday, okay, we can go. Thursday, we can go. Fridays, nobody wants to go to a seminar on Friday because they're leaving out of town. They got something to do, whatever. So Tuesday and Thursday. Why not Wednesday? Wednesday works for lunches. Wednesday tends not to work very well for dinners because of church. A lot of people go to church on Wednesday nights. And so you're not going to get as good of a turnout, especially for dinners on Wednesdays. So Tuesdays and Thursdays are best. Now, what about lunches or dinners? I prefer lunches. And the reason I prefer lunches is because I don't like to work in the evenings. I like to go home to my family in the evenings. And if you have people that want to go to a 6 o'clock seminar, well, they're probably going to expect you to also do a 6 o'clock appointment, right? So I don't want me or my staff to do dinners if we don't have to. We'll do a dinner if it's a restaurant that we really want to work with and we can't, for some reason, we've got one here. They won't give us the room at lunchtime because they need the space. They're really busy at lunchtime and they won't, but they'll give it to us on a Thursday evening. Okay. So the other thing is with that is agents will tell me, well, but what if they're still working and they can't come for lunch? First of all, they can take a lunch break and come see you if they really want to. Second of all, you don't want them if they're still working anyway, right? That's a lower percentage play for you. Out of all of those people that have to come to a dinner seminar because they're still working, how many of them are you actually going to write business with? Maybe a few, but not many, right? Because they're still working. They still have insurance, right? Versus those that can come to a lunch seminar and aren't working. How many of those are you going to write? You can write almost all of them because they're not working. They don't have insurance, right? Some of them certainly may, but it's a higher percentage. Sorry, I got distracted. It said Ronald Ray's left the room, but I just realized that was Josh, but he's back. Okay, so it's a lower percentage play for people who are still working. So if you don't have to do dinners, or if you want to do dinners just for that reason, I would advise you not to. Do a lunch. It's a better percentage play. Might you get a few more people at a dinner? Yes. But the extra ones that come just because they're working and can't come to a lunch, the likelihood of you writing them or the percentages of you writing them are much lower. Okay, so don't do it. Don't do it. Just do lunches. Now, if you need to do a dinner, I'm not going to argue with you. If you want to do a dinner, that's fine. Do a dinner. What about lack of restaurants or private rooms in most areas? Do you think universities would work and also cater in? That's something we have to deal with, and I help I help agents work through, if I have agents that drive 3 hours to a metro area to go do a seminar because they live in a rural area and there's not enough population. Even if they have a restaurant with a room, there's not enough population to really support regular seminars. So, go to, drive to your next biggest town that's got the population to support it. Universities, I'm going to bet that if you've got a university, you probably have a restaurant that has a private room. That's just my guess. I don't really know, but yeah, you can use a university. Especially if you're not paying too much for the room, or if they'll give it to you for free, that's great. And if you can even put their branding, put the logo of the university on your mail piece, that's even better. It lends a little bit of credibility, right? Well, if it's at the university, this guy must be squared away, right? Watch the catering. Catering can be problematic. One, it's usually quite a bit more expensive than a restaurant. And, you've got to get them in and out. It's a lot more logistics that has to do. Bingo is a great draw. I don't know. You've got to just see what works for you, what's available in your area. I'm telling you, though, I've been doing this a long time, and I work with a lot of agents that have been doing this a long time. If you have a restaurant that has a private room, that is your best bang for your buck. If you don't, then we've got to find other solutions, right? Okay. You can rent a movie theater. You can do, there's a lot of different things that you can do outside of restaurants. They don't all draw as well. Okay. If you don't have a restaurant, you don't have funds for food, that's okay. We'll figure something else out. I'm telling you what works the best. What do you do about repeat attendees? I write them the third time they come, right? You want people to come 2 or 3 times because that means they're getting to know you, right? And if I have to feed them 3 times to get them in, what did I spend on them? I spent an extra $20. I spent an extra $30, $40. I'm still making money, right? As long as they're doing business with me. Now, remember, I'm mailing to them, 6, 7, 8, 9 months out. They're getting that mail piece every month until they finally age off of my list. What's one of the rules of marketing is that somebody has to see that marketing multiple times. It used to be 4 or 5 times. Now I say it's 7 or 8 times before they'll take action on it, right? So the first time they get that mail piece at 8 months before their birthday, they're going to go, oh man, I kind of need to do that, but it's a long ways away for Medicare. I'm kind of busy that day. So they're going to throw it away. Then the next month, they're going to get it again. They go, oh, yeah, I remember that from next. I really need to get to that. But I don't know. It's still 6 months. And then the third time they get it, they go, okay, now this is getting serious. I know this deadline's coming up. Now I'm going to go. All right, so that makes sense. And then some people will go on the 4th month and they go, they get it again. And they go, okay, well, now it's getting time. I went. It was good information, but I still have a few questions. So I think we'll go again. You go again, you confirm everything that they thought they heard you say the first time. And there we go. So that's good. If people go multiple times, I think that's good, because if they go and they don't like you, they're not going to come back, right? If they like you, then they'll come back, and that's okay. I don't mind that at all. And they'll say, well, if they want to bring their grandkids, as long as they're not making noise and causing a problem. Oops, forgot to put my phone on D&D. I always tell them, because most people will ask, hey, I've got my granddaughter at that time. Is it okay if I bring them? I'll say, yeah, as long as, I don't mind. I don't even mind feeding them. I don't tell them that, but I don't mind feeding them. How many seminars do I do? I do 1 a month per territory, right? And the territory is that radius around your restaurant. You don't want to overlap too much. A little bit of overlap is fine, a couple of miles, a few miles, but 1 a month per territory. And the territory it's just whatever you have time for, right? You start out with 1 territory. You do that every month. And then you get good at it. You find you have more time and now more money. So you add another territory that you can drive to. Okay. Hey, I want to take a pause here just for a second. bring in, I want to bring in Josh first. Well, I'll tell you what, let's, Tabitha, are you still here? Tabitha's had some really, really good success with seminars based on, let me see if she's still here. There she is. Okay. See if Tabitha, I'm gonna see if I can unmute you and see if you can talk. If you don't mind, just kind of tell people, how this has worked from you, kind of where you were at when you started researching this, and then what the success you had and what you're doing now. I think you can talk. I don't know. Can't hear you yet. Let me do this. Oh, shoot. You know what? Hang on. Boy, I'm killing time here. Josh, I'm gonna hang on, Tabitha. I'm actually gonna kick Josh out. Josh, I'm gonna kick you out as a presenter, and then I'm gonna add Tabitha. Sorry, folks, I've not done this with this software before.
You're gonna have to. Actually, here, I'll just leave on this one and come back in as myself. You can just add me as a presenter later.
That'll work. Thought I just kicked you out.
That was me, not the presenter, W.
Okay. There we go. How often do I send mailers for one monthly event? That's once a month. All right. While we're waiting for Tabitha to get in there, I'll continue answering some questions. And there she is.
Hey.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Hey, thanks for being here. And I just want to introduce you real quick. I'll just mention your name, Tabitha Justice, and a little disclaimer here. Tabitha is not, affiliated with my agency. She watched my video that I did with Justin Brock a couple years ago and is out there for free, which has, by the way, probably a lot more detail than we're getting into today. So go out there and find that and watch it and you get more detail. This is more or less just kind of an update to get you updated and introduce new people to the concept. But Tabitha, hey, go a couple of minutes and just kind of say, what I just asked you to say.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So when I first watched your video, I was sold captive. I was also with Banker's Life. And I think I watched your video about 7 times to make sure. I mean, I followed it step by step. I am very different from you in that I'm in a very sparsely located population. So I'm in West Virginia. So I had to massively change how we do things. So we couldn't just focus on like one small restaurant or on one restaurant. We actually had to do about a 60-mile radius for us. And then we also had to change the age demographic. I did demographic of T65 of all ages or all income levels, but I also did T66 through 68 of 30,000 plus for income. Because I do a lot like you do with the annuities and all the extra products. And that's actually been really successful for us because we have found a lot of the people that come to that and that age demographic are just people that stayed longer. So they're higher incomes and they just weren't ready to go on to Medicare at 65.
Yeah. So that's very interesting. You and I hadn't really talked about that part of it, I don't think, before, but we've got a room. And so the room's got a capacity, right? So say you've got 30 seats in your room. Well, people ask me how much do you mail, or how many. For me, I mail to the capacity of the room. Mm-hmm. So I know in my area, I'm going to get about 1 to 1.5% response rate. So for every 1,000 pieces I send out, I'm going to get about 12 people to sign up, right? So to fill a 30-person room, I've got to send 3,000 pieces, right? And luckily, like you said, I've got plenty of turning 65s here that I can do that. But if you don't, then you've got to add more demographics to get there.
I worked with Jennifer through Leading Response also, and it was, the first.
I really think that Jennifer needs to send me a present, because they used to, just so everybody knows, full disclosure, I do not get paid by them. They used to give me a $200 credit on my next mailer for referrals. They don't even do that anymore. They're still great. I still love them. I still send them business, but I'm not getting paid anything, and neither is Tabitha for sending them over here. But I think it would be nice if she would send me a birthday card.
I love her. They're really easy to work with, and we struggled a lot when we first started working together because we couldn't get enough people in the room, and we played around with the numbers, and now we're sold out of every single one that we do. Once we got the numbers right, I think we sold, and it was only me and one other person, and we did 6 million in annuities in the first 6 months of us doing it. So I think the number one thing is people shouldn't be afraid to play around with the numbers in their market, and if it doesn't work out the first time, just keep playing with the numbers at least 3 or 4 times until you can get it. And Ron, I'll tell you another thing that I found that massively helped is not excluding current clients, because they're your biggest cheerleaders, and they'll come into, especially because we have that extra up to 69 that can come. They sell it for me. They almost always, someone gets up in the presentation and like, she's our agent. This is what she did for us. I would not go anywhere other than her. And that can be your biggest selling point.
Yep. I don't do that organically through my mail list, just because people, they age off of the list.
Right.
But I definitely do invite people to come back anytime. People need a refresher. Sometimes they forget. Bring a friend. Hey, it's a great referral party. If somebody sends me a referral, their friend, a client sends me, a lot of times I'll tell them, hey, if they're turning 65, why don't you bring them to my next seminar? That's how you found me. You enjoyed the information. Bring them. You come, you bring them. It's comfortable for them. So they're with you. They're not with a stranger. They get to meet me. I get to feed them and get them all the same information.
Yeah.
And if they can that's a great thing. And then I definitely do that with, the annuity seminars. I don't do those very often, a couple times a year, but I definitely, we'll have some shills in the crowd. Yeah. So 6 million in annuities based off of Medicare Seminars, Medicare Business. So the Medicare Business hopefully paid for the seminars, and then 6 million in annuities. That's a pretty nice paycheck there in 6 months.
Yes, it was. I just hope to increase it now. We were only doing them every other month.
Yeah.
And we've just recently ramped up to we're doing 2 to 3 a month now. So hopefully that just keeps increasing.
I would venture to say that the commission on 6 million in annuities is a life changer for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Allow me to hire more people on. We have staff now. We've grown. Specifically from the seminar, we went from just me and one other person to 12 people in a year. So, yeah,
that's awesome. I've been kind of following your progress, stalking you on Facebook and watching that happen. It's been really fun to watch.
Well, you were a big part of that, so I really appreciate it.
Well, good. Anything I can do to help. And thank you for coming on here and kind of, having another mouth tell the story and validating what I'm saying. It works. It works, folks. So anything you would do different that you did do that didn't work, or should have done differently at the beginning?
No, but I will say the one thing that I would encourage people to do, because I've had other people that also tried to do the seminars and theirs was not as productive as mine. And probably one of my biggest tips is, like, if they really wanted to know about Medicare, like if that was their full purpose, they could research it themselves. They're coming to the seminar because they want to know what it's like to work with you. They want to see how personalities go. So don't make it boring. Make sure it's about you, your personality, what you're going to do. And I think that's probably one of the reasons we're so successful with ours is we make it very personal about why we are different as an agency.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that, because Medicare plans, Medicare supplements for sure, most advantaged, it's a commodity, right? They can get the same thing from every other agent in town.
Yep.
And so they're really not buying the product, they're buying you.
100%.
That's what the seminar is really designed to do is to get them to know you. Mm-hmm. And then that way you don't have to waste your time with the people that aren't going to like you and not do business with you, because people do business with people they know, trust, and like, right? Mm-hmm. And so if I can condense time, how long would it take you to do 35 individual Medicare presentations?
Right.
60 hours, right? But if I can get 35 people in a room for 1 hour and do the same thing, a good percentage of those, I'm not for everybody. My wife tells me that all the time, are not going to like me and are never going to do business with me. Well, I don't ever have to meet with them again because they're not going to check the box and they're not going to schedule an appointment. But the other 75% are, like me and well enough to at least have an appointment with me, and then I can complete the process. That's the other beautiful part about seminars. It's just really condensing the time.
Yeah, and I don't know if you would approve of this, but I actually only call people from that request for me to call them, specifically because I don't want to waste my time chasing down people so I tell them, if you do not fill this out, you'll never hear from me. Yep. So I like that FOMO feeling, specifically because of what you said. I don't want to waste my time.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And that's it. It really filters people out as much as filters people in. So the way it's a little tougher now because Medicare Advantage is just growing so much in our area where it's hard to ignore. But before I presented the information in such a way that I think that people, the Medicare Advantage candidates, never schedule an appointment with me. And I didn't tell them that. I didn't say, if you want a Medicare Advantage plan, don't come and see me. But I just made the presentation in a way where the Medicare supplement people are the ones that schedule an appointment with me. And it's, as long as they're qualified, it's 100% close rate. Right? But now I'm doing a little bit differently. We're a little bit more, not a little bit, a lot more positive or a little bit more objective on the Medicare Advantage plans because we can't afford to filter those people out anymore. We just can't. And to be fair, the plans are better.
Yeah,
plans are better. The networks are better. The companies are better. So we're just doing it. But yeah, you're filtering out the people definitely that don't like you and aren't going to work with you. You don't want to track them down. You want to spend time calling them and then you get into maybe you do convince them to have an appointment and they sit there with their arms crossed and they're just, biding their time to wait to get out, wait for you to shut up and let them go.
I had enough of that.
Yeah. So, all right. Hey, thank you so much for coming on and really appreciate it.
All right. Bye. Thanks.
All right. Difficulties with the technology. All right. Let's see if we've got any more questions. We've got a few more minutes. Somebody asked, can we get carriers to sponsor the educational seminar? The answer to that is yes. And that is definitely something you can do. But get the money. Don't use their mailers. The response rates on carrier branded mailers are historically very, 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 very low. When I hear an agent tell me that they sent out 1,000 pieces and they had one person or no people register, I automatically know that they used a carrier mailer, right? Don't do that. Get the money from them. Go to your local broker managers and get the money. Say, hey, I've sent you 25 clients in the last 3 months or 6 months or year. I want to do this seminar. Can you give me some money for the mail, or can you pay for the food or whatever? And even if you brand your seminar, like you put up your I don't know, just pick a carrier, call it Humana. You put a Humana tablecloth and no plan information, no enrollment forms, but you put out your little knickknacks, the pens and the chip clips and that kind of stuff. That's fine. But here's what you do. You do that to make your rep happy so that they gave you the money. They don't really even care about that, honestly, as long as you're sending the business. What you do is you go, hey, folks, at the end, by the way, we represent all the major carriers in town. Humana sponsored this. That helped kind of pay for some of the food. So we like to give them a shout out. But the fact is, I represent all the major carriers. They all pay me. They all pay me about the same. So I don't really care what company you pick, what plan you pick, as long as it's right for you. Now, again, Humana was sponsoring this specific event, so I wanted to give them some recognition. I do appreciate them helping out. But if it ends up Humana's not right for you, I am not going to force you into that. We're going to go with whatever's right for you. So that's kind of how you handle that. And definitely, if a carrier is willing to give you money, take it, because they're making plenty. Right now, if they give you money, you do need to send as much as you can that's suitable, that's right for the client. You need to send that back to them, because if you don't, they're not going to give you money again. So you need to give them enough so that they keep giving you the money. And that's fine. Now remember, it's an educational seminar, so you can't have the enrollment forms, you can't have the plan documents, you can't have any plan specific stuff out there. It's carrier specific. All right. So, man, Josh, if you come back in as a presenter, and while he's doing that, I will see if I can answer some more questions. How old are the people that you signed up for annuities? She's doing, and this is the case for me too, 64 to 69-year-olds at their seminars. So, they're in that age range. Most of mine are 64 plus. Now, the annuities don't come right away. They might come out of that first appointment where we're scheduling another appointment to sell an annuity. By the way, if you do remember those rules, you can't sell non-health products in the same appointment with a Medicare plan. But we're definitely schedule a second appointment to come back and talk about the money after we've done our fact finder, right? We've uncovered the need, but yeah, they're all in that same age range. Yeah, annuities are a long-term game. Yeah, so the ones that I've written this month, the last 3 weeks. Hey, Josh, the annuities that I've written in the last 2 weeks, 775,000 in annuities. Most of those, with the exception of one client, were all current clients. So we've had a conversation at some point in the past. Now we're bringing it back up through email marketing or webinar marketing that I do for my clients, and then come back. The other one, the one that I wrote yesterday, 146,000. That's a brand new turning 65. In fact, we haven't even done her Medicare plan yet. She's retiring from her company, and we're in the process of doing her 401k rollover, thrift savings plan rollover. And she's actually, we're not even close enough. That was one of her priorities, was get that done. And so we're not even concerned about the Medicare yet. We're going to do that next week. So Kevin, I've got a whole another course about annuities, but that long-term care conversation is the most powerful one that you can have, because they're all scared of the nursing home. They're all scared of the state getting their assets. And I sell way more annuities off of that long-term care conversation than anything else. But I'm going to get off of that topic and get back on to Medicare, because I'm going to run out of time. I've only got about I don't know, about 12 minutes left before we get closed out. Josh, you back in here? Get you to come in and give a quick just kind of tell us your story like Tabitha did. You got about maybe 4 minutes for you.
Yeah. Okay. Let me touch on a couple things real quick, just from the seminar I wanted to touch on. There's a lot of comments about. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I just want to make sure.
Can't see
there was a lot of comments about cost, plate liquors, things like that. I just wanted to break it down for people real quick. The average cost for me for a mailer for 2 seminars, normally I would have a Tuesday and Thursday seminar, was right around $2,000. Okay. The mailer is the most expensive part. So any concerns you have of people showing up again 2 or 3 times, or plate liquors, right? Even if you have 2 plate liquors per seminar, right? I mean, $15 a plate, you're $30, right? It's such a low portion of the $2,000 you're spending that it isn't even worth kind of quibbling over, right? Between the meal, the taxes, tips, things like that, you're $17 a plate. And for a $2,000 mailer, $3,000 mailer that went out, like it's such a small amount. The other thing I will say is the seminars are a long-term investment, right? It takes a little bit of time to fill up the pipeline.
Yep.
If you are a brand new agent, you don't have a marketing budget, it's probably not the best way to start, right? I would recommend seminars for someone who's been working Medicare for a year or 2. They've got a little bit of a marketing budget. They can spend a couple $1,000s a month on the mailers, that they can spend money on the seminars. It'll take, I mean, for me, I had to put, because you have to pay for the mailers about 6 weeks before they even go out and you have the seminar, right? So I started mine every other week. And so before I even had my first seminar, I was like $6,000 into this thing. That being said, if you do your seminars properly, if you do the follow-up properly, it's an incredibly easy return on investment, right? I'm not hounding people. I'm not calling leads. It's literally people are calling me or my office admins to set up appointments because they want to meet, right? That was one of my appointments around Friday. One of my appointments Monday, I was meeting with them. They went to a seminar last September. So like 7 months ago. I totally forgot she existed. I obviously wasn't doing my follow-up properly, but she called my office admin to set an appointment because they liked me. They liked the presentation. They've already made their decisions, right? One of my most recent seminars, there's an older guy who was he just sat there the entire time scowling at me. And I was just like, it was a smaller seminar. It didn't have a great turnout. There was only I want to say 6 people there. And him and his wife were just glaring at me the whole time, right? And I just thought the guy was judging me. I was like, great, I already know I'm not going to have business from these 2 guys. They set an appointment before I even walked out the door, just because they were like, yeah, we had made the choice. They're super nice, actually, some of my favorite clients I've got. But as you're working with people, just know that as the messages that they convey aren't always kind of what you see. But if you have the money, if you can afford to do the seminars, pull the trigger. If you're getting stumped over the small $30 in plate liquors, if you do the presentation well enough, they won't be plate liquors, they'll be clients anyways. So.
Right. Yep. So where, kind of tell people quickly, kind of where you were at, what you were doing when you decided to start doing seminars, and kind of where you're at now.
So just the predicament I described. I've been doing seminars, doing Medicare for a couple of years, had a little bit of a marketing budget come in. I had just closed an annuity. So I had some money come in to spend on marketing. I stumbled upon Ron and Justin's video doing the seminars, right? And so that was kind of my launch point for doing the seminars. One other great aspect of the seminars, I don't do the seminars for the annuities. I do them for Medicare. That's my goal, the long-term business with the renewals. But it puts you in the right lane to have these retirement conversations with people with the annuities. I've closed, without even having nearly as many conversations as I probably should be having, I closed 4 annuities last year for almost $1 million in premium, right? And so they easily turn around to pay for themselves, easily. And so now we've got the extra marketing, right? We've pulled on several new agents. We've It's not our only source of revenue. We do a lot of Facebook marketing as well, but it is hands down the easiest, right? You got people calling you to set the appointments. Once they have been to your seminar, if they like you and liked your presentation, very minimal follow-up is even required, just because they've already made a choice by the time that meeting has ended.
Yep, that's right. All right. So you didn't really intend for this to be about annuities, but that's like a healthy side effect of seminars.
It is. Yeah, it puts you in the right lane to have the conversations.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, which is not something that you're doing when you're calling people on the phone from a lead during annual enrollment. Your fact finder consists of what's your zip code and what plan do you have now, right? And would you like to get $200 extra dental coverage? I mean, that's your fact finder. And, that's really not a great way to do business, suitability wise, but I get it, right? Because we've got to make money. We've got a lot of leads to go through, and we've got, that's what we're focused on. But when you're doing turning 65, you've got more time to work with the folks. You got more time to ask more questions and do a proper suitability needs analysis fact finder.
And a lot of these people are just shifting into retirement as well, right? They line their retirement up with their 65th birthday. And so they're already having that financial conversation. Again, it's not something I pitch as much as I should. I just lead in my seminar with that, right? I've got a little pie graph that says, hey, here's the areas that we help you with. We've got health insurance, we've got long-term care, we've got financial planning. Our conversation today is just the Medicare, just the health insurance. We've branded the Southern Nevada Medicare because our first conversation with you guys is Medicare. If you have other conversations, other questions after that, we're more than happy to talk about those as well. But our initial point of conversation, today's conversation, is just the Medicare side.
Yep. All right, Josh. Hey, thanks for coming in. Thanks for helping out with the chat. I gotta get moving back. Just wrap it up, man. I've just got a couple more minutes. There's some challenges to this. It's not super easy. Like Josh said, it's not for beginners just because you don't have the money. It does take time. It takes 4 or 5 months to have that full pipeline because we're reaching out to people, several months out. So at every event, you'll have, 2 or 3 people that are ready to go right now. But the majority of them are going to come to see you as they get closer to your 65th birthday. So you've got to be able to hang in there. You can't do one and expect to get much from it. Like any marketing program, you got to be consistent over a longer period of time. And seminars are not the cheapest way to get started in marketing. Okay. They're expensive and you got to be able to hang in. Cost per acquisition is good, but you've got to be able to hang in there for a few months while you do it. It's not very scalable. It's territory based because this is a physical thing that we're going to a location and doing it. And you can't, it's not the way you scale is by adding more locations, right? And one person can only do so many seminars before you're spending all your time doing the seminars and no time doing sales, right? So it's not terribly scalable. COVID was a problem. COVID shut me down. When the government shut down the restaurants, I was out of business as far as marketing to new people. So what we do, we went through our pipeline of people that we've been building over the last 8 months. So those people were all aging in. That was fine. And then we just went back through our book and we're cross-selling and rewriting our book, as needed. COVID's a problem. New marketing regs. We talked about these. Gosh, I got a couple more minutes. No sales event for 12 hours after. These all go into effect in September. No scope of appointments can be collected at the event. No appointments can be scheduled at the event, but you can get permission to contact, business reply cards, and contact info. Okay, that's very important to know. Okay, everything else, it can wait. They're turning 65. They don't need to do business right now anyway. Okay. That's a duplicate slide, it looks like. All right. So final point, seminars, really just one piece of a diversified marketing plan. For me, they're the primary, but we do other things. We work niche markets for Medicare. I'm not going to give away all the secrets here on those niche markets, but I will if you're in the apprenticeship program. And I learned this lesson the hard way in 2020. Really all I did was seminars because I was really good at it. It really worked well for me. And I didn't really want to get back into the other stuff. So I just kind of did seminars. And then COVID, something I never imagined. And I didn't really play it well. I thought, this is going to be over in 2 weeks. They're going to open these restaurants up. And guess what? It didn't. It lasted 4 months here in Texas. We didn't start doing seminars again until about November. So from April to November, we weren't really doing anything marketing wise. But that's it. So listen, folks, that is it. Thank you so much. I've got a couple of minutes. Listen, go back to that offer, the apprenticeship, the mentorship program. Click on that link. Go to the application, fill out the application. I'm going to give you all the secrets, give you all the materials, the books, the forms, the PowerPoints, walk you through it. We're going to get together every week from July to October. Make sure you're ready to go. And then if you graduate from the program, I'm going to fly out to you on my dime. I'm going to run your first seminar for you. And then we're going to be in the program. Now, not everybody's going to qualify for this. Remember, they're really not for this. The seminars are really not for beginners because of the cost and the expertise that you need. But fill it out. My time's going to run out here in a couple of minutes. I just want to say thank you again. That link should be up there, but if not, send me a message, a text, or a Facebook message. Let me know you want the link. I'll send it to you. Folks, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time. If you have any questions, need anything, just reach out to me. If there's anything that I didn't cover or that you want me to repeat, send me a message and I'll get with you individually. Thanks, folks. Have a great weekend. It's Friday. Go home, relax, or get out there and sell some more insurance. Bye.